Welcome to Amplify. We're the show that will help you take your message, whatever it may be, and get it out through social media, networking, and other marketing channels. Maybe even some that you've never thought of. Whether you're an organization, small or large business, or you just have the next positive message that's sure to go viral, you'll want to stay tuned this hour. Now, here's your host, Ken Rochon.
Well, hello, hello. I am calling in from Phoenix in my lovely little room here before I head to my event. And I'm so excited to be having Dr. Garrett Goggins as my guest today. We just got done with the 100 Millionaires Summit in Orlando, so it has been a whirlwind. And Garrett, first of all, welcome to the show. This is Amplified.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is quite a I feel very honored to be on this with you.
Well, thank you. I am excited because I'm going to do a totally different, not a totally different show, but quite a different show today. I'm going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, which really are the Key Smiling Movement, which is my baby, my nonprofit foundation with executive director Dr. Andrea Adams Miller and Barry Shore, and they have been instrumental in keeping us alive for 7 years, and it's constantly hitting that little tease of a tipping point. So we're happy about that. And then Perfect Publishing, which we are so excited that you're one of the tribe family members and authors, leaders, and legacy people we believe in. That is part of the tribe and the family. But here's what makes us unique. I'm not going to do a bio because I don't have it handy. I don't have your book handy. I went last week to these events wondering, in a way, if I would survive. I did something funky last week. I don't know what it was, but when you add one thing and then another thing and another thing, and that saying, the straw that broke it.
Right.
Well, I had a straw break my back last Monday. So 1 hour from now in the East Coast, I ate something that must have been the straw because it wasn't agreeable to my wife or myself. But she was able to beep through it with just the normal, this is not agreeable, and have the little issues in the bathroom. I did not. I went down for the count with something that felt like arthritis. Pancreat. No, not pancreat. What is it? Appendicitis.
That's
Appendicitis.
us.
So it was so serious. I said to my wife, I said, I don't know if I'm going to have this thing burst while I'm on a plane. She says, go to urgency right now. So I went, and when they checked me out and they touched my belly, and I was just not screaming, but I was like, this is really uncomfortable. They said, you need to go to emergency right now. There's something happening.
Mhm.
So I was there for 11 hours. So today is the first day I've had a normal bathroom situation. So I'm excited that I'm alive again. And, you need these things from God to awaken you and say, one, you're doing too much. Two, you need to do things better. Three, your health and wellness are the only thing that keep you moving forward. So this is why this show's unique, because I'm just happy to be here with you, Gary.
That makes it even more of an honor because that's the thing, and I'm glad that you're here with us too. So
Well, I wanted to talk about a couple things before we even do the bio. I want to do a little gratitude moment. I want to
yeah,
say one of my favorite things in my life is my son, and he has given me a new light as to how important it is to do children's books. And you referred Selena Nelson over, and she is doing probably one of the most exciting children's books themes. She's got a book coming out next month, in about 3 weeks even, called The Seed. She's going to be joining us. I wanted you to be first. It didn't feel right to have her on and then have you on at a later date. So I just want to thank you for nominating and referring her. She obviously was nominated first to do the dose of hope,
mhm.
which is also coming out with her and you in the same book. So that's pretty cool too. And it's so cool when you can look around a room and say, these are all important people. This one's in a compilation called Dose of Hope. This one, and you're able to say, one, that the project attractive, but two, this is love. These are all
Mhm.
people of hope. And I'll say that the more people you have in your circle that bring hope, the more healthy you will be in all kinds of ways.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Carissa Selena, she's a um, she's an amazing woman, and her story and where the seed came from is it has such a good message that I think needs to be delivered to kids. Right. This is the thing that's lacking in the world today is this the growth piece that your son and all the children books that you're putting out there are teaching the kids. And so it's it was the right connection. But that's how God works, right? He brings us, he says, hey, let's get you introduced to Dr. Smiley, and then I do this, and like, hey, I know a cool person for you as well. And it just goes from there, and you just get the right people, the right resources to make what the messages that are supposed to get out there.
Well, I don't know if you've heard this story, so you may be one of the first to hear this, but this is definitely the first time I shared it live on air. But do you know Renee Orzechowski? I mean, do you know her before she set you up for the show?
No.
Okay. So Dr. Michelle Mraz said you need a VA and you need someone powerful that can actually keep up with your speed. And they said, I do. So she recommended Renee, and because we just talked, and I didn't know it was going to be a hit off kind of thing, but as we grew, we started seeing muscle. And it's funny, but your nomination of Selena did not necessarily come to be fulfilled until I had an illustrator, and we had a hell of a time finding an illustrator. I don't know if you know the backdrop on this, but it was 35 hours or more we spent trying to find the right illustrator, because you can find a great illustrator, but are they available? You can find an illustrator that is perfect for the project, but can they deliver it in the time that you need it for Christmas? And all these things, it was just knocking out people left and right. And Renee is the one who came up with the nomination, and it was the last interview. It's like a Rudy story or a Hollywood story, because we'd gone through. So I had gone through 35 or 36 of them. That's how I know it's 35 or 36 hours. Okay, so I'd gone through 35 or so, and I knocked it down to about, I think, 6 or 7 for Selena to interview herself. I said, "This is your turn." I mean, I've gone through first wave, and everyone was a zilch. And Renee says, "I have one person." And she did. She had Tori Meyer, and Tori Meyer is in Colorado Springs. All the people were everywhere else, everywhere else, and so they did not know Tori, and so they're like this right now. I mean, they are tight, and they have a beautiful project. But I was hoping that Dr. Michelle Mraz would be able to make it to the quote unquote studio, and she has made it. So, you want to give a quick hello, real quick? I guess that is a quick hello, real quick, when you say quick twice.
Hello, real quick.
No.
Hey, Dr. Mraz.
So talk briefly about the connection you have with Robert and Garrett.
Well, geez. Robert, actually, I've met him before, but the one thing that steps out the most for me is at my Hold My Crown Women of Grit Share Stories of Resilience book launch in Colorado Springs. He didn't have a book. He had bought the download, right? He had the Kindle. And I said, and his, I want you to sign my Kindle. I'm like, and his, took a screenshot and then gave me his stylus, and I signed my very first digital book. And then with Dr. Goggins is what we've met because your sister introduced us. She reached out to me and we met for coffee, and she said, "You have got to meet my brother." And I said, "Oh, really?" She says, "You don't want to talk to me. You want to talk to my brother." And then that's how we got connected. And that was,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
a couple of years ago.
Well, I asked her to come down to kind of tie them out, because it's very rare. She was supposed to be in Colorado Springs and her plane's canceled. So I said, "Why don't you fly to the Phoenix event and just hang here?" We're writing a book together. I said, "So you can just use my computer and write while I'm in the event." So that's why I said it's a unique show, Garrett.
It isn't you. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, you haven't been able to talk. That's pretty unique. And so, so if you'll let everyone know, I will be down on time. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping by the studio.
I had to find
All right, Garrett. So I would like you to I mean, the first part of the Dose of Hope is actually how did you create who you are. So if you'd be so kind, we'll kind of cover the bio, and then we'll cover at the end whatever's missing. But let's start with who you are, where you were born, and what your childhood was like, and if there was something that happened in your childhood, obviously, that caused you to be who you are today.
So who I am. So I'm Dr. Garrett Goggins. Where I was actually born in Indio, California. And everybody's, where's Indio? Well, it's right next to Palm Springs. So we lived in Palm Springs, and for some reason I went to the Indio hospital. I have no idea why. So I was born in Indio, California, but I've been in Colorado Springs I call it home, because I've been here since I was in second grade, and I'm old now. Well, not old. I'm 48 now. So we've been here for a while. So I'm an adopted Coloradan. And was it my childhood? Okay, sure. 16. When I was 16, I dropped out of high school. I ran away from home. And the story there is I really didn't run away from home. I was running away from religion. I was not ready for religion at that point in my life. But a lot of
Was it specific religion?
We were, it was a non-denominational church, but I mean, maybe a little bit more strict than most, but nothing outlandish, right? It wasn't like my mom was abusive and this and that and blah blah blah. It wasn't. It was just I just was rebellious, so I rebelled, and had some ambition. So although I ran away from home, dropped out of high school, I was working 2 full-time jobs. I was paying rent. I was doing whatever, but I was still immature. So my maturity level did not really match my ambition level. And so I did some bad things, but
What age was this?
16. Um, so long story short, when my dad
Hey,
came
we got
back,
time. We got time, baby. This is not a long story short kind of game. You can go long story medium. How about that?
long story medium. So yeah, I did a lot of things. I mean, I think when I was 16 was probably when there had some addictions to was mainly alcohol. But my dad came back from Korea. He was stationed in Korea, and he convinced me. He gave me, like, I don't know of any other parent that would do this, right? He comes back from Korea and he was stationed there. He said, "Look, I need you to go back to high school. And I want you to go back so bad that I'm going to make this deal with you. And move with me to Kentucky, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and go back to school. We can set up a homeschool situation, and that'll be your job. I'll actually give you a paycheck. As long as you are doing the school thing, I will give you a paycheck to make that happen." And I had made a deal with myself. I was like, all right, if I do this, because I knew that now I'm 17, pushing 18, and I'm like, my life is not going where I want it to go. So if I do this, I'm going to go all the way. So I took him up on that offer, went to Kentucky, got my high school. I completed my junior and senior year in 1 year, and then I went to trade school. So I got an associate's degree, not trade school, but an associate's degree in architectural and structural design and drafting. So went there, and I got really addicted to the software, the CAD software. And I'm like, okay, well, I said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to get the doctorate. I knew I was going to do it. I just didn't exactly know where I wanted
How'd
to
you
get
know
it.
that? How'd you know that, and why? Why was that so important to you?
Because it was a proof to myself. It was a very expensive proof, for myself, that I can accomplish whatever I wanted to accomplish. And so I knew that I was going to do that. Um, and it
Sorry,
took a lot of,
Garrett. I'm sorry. I'm blown away. You just knew it. I mean, you can't. So for me, it was because my grandmother had it. It was because they were authors that I had to be, and it took me 39 years to figure out all that stuff because I always said I wanted, and I never did. So my mom getting Alzheimer's and me being a caregiver were tightening the knot of life is mortal and you can die, and are you going to freaking do this? Is this what you want or not? And I wanted a purpose-driven life, and I wanted to be an author, and I wanted to be a doctor, a doctorate.
mm-hmm.
My point is, tell our audience more. Come on.
Well, so, and I'm not going to say that journey was just like an immediate thing, right?
Right.
Because there's so many setbacks. But it was this deal that I made with myself, because when I ran away from home, and I did not want that stigma of being, oh, you're a high school dropout runaway, right? So therefore, anything, if I didn't have success, that was not going to be the reason. I was going to do whatever I could to get whatever success I was looking for. And that and this piece that my dad had so much, this belief that he had, pretty much the majority of my life was me borrowing the belief of others, right? It was just this thing. And he had so much of this belief in me that I did not want to disappoint that, because I told him, like, I'm doing this. And he was like, yes, go for it. And so so many setbacks, so many these 2 steps forward, 3 steps back situations. And then I was like pivoting, because I again started in architecture and I shifted to computer
Give an
science.
example of a 2-3.
2, 3. So the first was I got married to my first wife, and I had my boys, right? And so I have 3 kids, but my daughter I had out of high school. I mean,
Do you want to give shout outs to him?
yeah, sure. So my daughter Cora, my grandson Jesse. Very interesting story there. Like, saw her when she was 2, and then her mom took her out of country. I didn't meet her again until she was 20. So and then she had my grandson Jesse. So we have reconnected and have built this amazing relationship. She's,
Hmm.
for the past 10 years. My middle son, Braden, Braden is just like my kids and just like you and your son, right? So Braden is just this insane, highly intelligent person that, you talk about college. So he finished high school at 16. He's a pre-med student now. He's 17. He's
Wow.
about, and that's just so many pieces of it there. And then my youngest son, Parker, just another mate. These kids do so much that everybody's like, "Oh, you raised them right." I'm like, there wasn't really. They were just good kids. I mean, maybe I had a part in that, but these guys are they just blow me away.
You are too humble, Garrett. You
Yeah.
are way too humble. Bad
So
boy. Bad
yeah, hey,
boy.
humility is a good thing, but they're easy kids. They were great kids, and they're just blowing my mind with the things that they're accomplishing. And so just yeah, shout out to all the
It
kids.
is called role modeling, by the way.
Yeah, I feel like my role modeling started later on in life because of this. So what we're talking about, right? Those setbacks. So
Mhm.
2009, yeah, 2009, got divorced from their mom, and then just 3 months later lost my job because of the housing market crash. This is when I was in architecture,
Yep.
and so that was a pivot though that pushed me to the next degree. And that's because I wanted to get in computer science. I felt like that was a big thing that was happening. We had the .com situation that was going on. So housing market crash, .com was coming into play. So like, let's just jump on the .com bandwagon. And then that went completely awry. So there I was. So 2 steps forward, got married, had kids, things are going great. Got divorced, lost jobs. Said, cool, let's do the .com. Let's get into computer science. Started moving forward. This .com crash, couldn't find a job to save my life because all these guys that were in the .com thing had all this experience that I didn't have. So I was unemployed for 3 years. And that was a very interesting time. Just had moved back in with my parents, and it was there was that. So but I finally got employed and started moving forward again. Got married again. Didn't have kids with her, but got divorced and then lost my job all within a few months. So that was my cycle of life, it seemed like.
Mm.
In my second marriage is when I finally got the doctorate, and but I found a different passion. So the computer science thing. So I have a doctorate in computer science, but that's not necessarily where I spend most of my time. It's most of my time is in the mindset coaching piece, and
Right.
being here with this. That's where this dose of hope comes, right? Giving people this hope that I was finding all these successes in life, right? I mean, one of the few, that percentage is so small here in America who have a doctorate, but I never felt like that's success, but I never felt successful. And it was because I was holding on to like all this guilt from when I was 16, this guilt of running away from home and what I did to my mother and all this guilt. And yes, guilt can be a great thing as far as information, but when you hold on to it for that long, it becomes a blocker. And
Garrett,
yeah,
I'd like to cut in and say there's a gentleman that I may have to introduce you to as a gift because, when we introduce people to each other, those are gifts, right?
right.
And this guy's name is AKA Action. And he is a hip hop artist that will not use curse words because he has a daughter. And he has the grill, a white guy, kind of Eminem-ish, I guess. And we may be writing a book together called Love and Hope. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is the reason we're writing the book is that when he was on the show about a month ago, which I encourage you to check out, he shared a blueprint. And the blueprint is he deals with people that are meth addicted. They're into everything. And he, with his heart, knows the pain that they're in. He knows that they can't get out of it. And so he has this blueprint. I don't have it cold right now, but basically it's one of the things is forgive yourself.
Mm.
And it's a really big piece of it. And then there's the gratitude. There's a lot of things you'd predict that's in there, but he says, go for being off the meth for just an hour, like and really know that you can do that. And then when it's 1 hour, just go one more hour. And he doesn't make. And then when you slip in day 3 or whatever, forgive yourself and go again. And I just love that you reminded me with your 2 and 3 that you're still kind of in there with a lot of other people that hold on to that. And I've kind of recently forgiven myself of some stuff, and it's really been empowering and freeing.
Yeah. Well, and that's to me, that's what launched me because I wasn't finding successes that I was looking for. I was always that self-image, right? There's a book, Psycho-Cybernetics. I love the book, and he talks about how that self-image is going to set that boundary of what you're going to be able to achieve. And
Hmm.
that self-image of myself, because I was holding on to that guilt, was so low that I had no choice but to go back down to rock bottom, because that's where I felt like I deserved to be. And so it was, you get into the self-sabotaging and all of that. And I love the forgiveness, because it was when I forgave myself for doing that. And I did a whole talk about this thing with my mother, and reconnecting with her, and forgiving myself, and for all those things, things just started to happen. It was so weird, right? So now that all the progression forward, it wasn't a battle. And I always laugh at people when they go to the self development, like, oh, this work is so hard. I'm like, you make it hard, because you just have to let go and understand that this is a blast. And when you start having fun with it, and do the self discovery, and who it is you want to be, and what it takes to get there, it's like a roller coaster ride. And we're not talking like roller coaster, like the ups and downs, the ebb and flows in life, but those down things are exciting. The up times are exciting. Everything is exciting, because we're living within this hope. And that's why I really loved when I was introduced to you with the dose of hope. I was like, heck yeah, man, I'm on this one, because that's the message, is we can do this. We can
Yeah,
do this together.
we became like instant brothers with that project.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we did not talk that. We had one conversation that was just so powerfully and so connected. And when we talk, we feel like we're brothers. I mean, for me, I feel like I'm your brother, and we talk whenever we want, and we just have an affinity, or I should say, I have an affinity to the fact that I relate so much to you. It's really
Well, and we look like brothers, so
we
it
look
makes
like
it makes sense. It really does. Yeah, that conversation, that introduction, I feel like our missions are in complete alignment with each other. And so it was very it was how do I it was right on time, because a gentleman, Richard Parsons, introduced us, and
Oh, it's
love
Rich
Richard to death.
Parsons. I
Yeah,
apologize. So
yeah,
we're one degree off. I think it was Robert Peterson introduced me to Rich, and then
Rich,
Rich to you.
yeah, yeah. And uh but he was just like, Garrett, you need to meet this guy, because your guys, you're in line with each other. And then we met, and we had the conversation. I was like, heck yeah, we are. And this is where we're at. So um I guess that is that long
That
story
is.
medium.
I want to throw in. You've never had me. You've never had me view this quote as a literal epiphany, even though it would be kind of an obvious epiphany. And it's Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Right.
And in this particular conversation we're having, it is so loud that had you been given this quote, I'd been given this quote when we were 16, and told this quote will actually drive your life. Like if you believe it, you will have it. If you believe it can't, you will not have it. It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's the sabotage part. When we say we're not worthy, we're saying we're going to believe that we cannot. And so
Right.
we'll do it. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? So we are going to break in a couple minutes. So I wanted to round out. I guess let's talk about your doctor program. What was that like for you?
um I think that's what actually killed my second. Because it takes so much. There's a lot of time, and but it took a lot of time. And I had kids, obviously, with my first wife, so it was dedicating time with them, sports, this, that, scouts. Like your son's in scouts, so it was a
Yep.
scouting program was a big thing for us. So dedicating that time. But then when I wasn't with them, I was dedicating most of my time to the doctorate, and so there was a lot of neglect for my second wife. And so that was a thing. And that was a hard.
You should have waited to the pandemic like I did. I waited to the pandemic and just wrote it from 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock every morning while everyone was asleep. Every day, every day.
That would have been, the pandemic wasn't there. Yeah. So, but that was my ownership on that, though. And it was a huge disconnect between her and I. And then there was something that we really couldn't get back. But it was in computer science, like I really should, and I should have known this then, because I'm more of a geared towards the people. So all that was computer science, it really should have been about It's the computer science is a DCS, so doctorate of computer science. It really should have been a PhD, because I was looking at human behavior on applying.
Isn't human behavior the best?
It is.
I mean, we're going to talk about my favorite human behaviorist, which is Malcolm Gladwell, and he ties it into business. So we're going to talk about that when we get back in 2 minutes. I do want to give a shout out to Jeff Spinard, who is looking down from heaven. He is the guy who actually founded Voice America, and Robert Cellino, who believes in this show, and Voice America for all the wonderful production they do. I'd also like to thank menfashion.com. They still dress me almost every single Monday. Love them. And Perfect Publishing. If it wasn't for Perfect Publishing and my mom passing of Alzheimer's, you and I would not have had the conversation of doing your book, which we will talk in depth in the second segment. So we will be back in a couple minutes, and I have a little hook, a little surprise about today being the last day, Garrett, of something that affects my son. That's a cliffhanger, isn't it?
That's a cliffhanger.
I mean, when you're looking for that, and you know what? I'm going to throw this out. I don't know if I'm going to get in legal trouble, but my Apple Watch is charged, and if Apple would like to sponsor the show, you can call me. I will wear this every single show. All right, how about that? All right, we'll be back in a couple minutes. This is Ken Rochon on Amplified Voice America. Stay amplified for the next 2 minutes. Enjoy the previews you're going to hear on top of the ones we just gave you. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Thanks.
All right, nicely done. All clear. Back in 2.
Okay, so we'll do the cliffhanger, and then the cliffhanger will lead to a small conversation, and then we're going to go into your book, why people should get it. We're going to talk about the tour that's coming up that you're going to be part of as much as you'd like. It's Colorado, Denver, New York, Rhode Island, DC, Tampa, and possibly Orlando. And you can just say that you'll be supporting it, or you'll be there at some of them. But Denver and Colorado Springs, I'm sure you'll be at those two.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have potentially 400 people coming to the Colorado Springs one.
Wow.
Well, Kat Voss is saying 200, and so is Selena.
Wow.
And I don't think they know what 200 sounds like. They know what that number means. Yeah. And when someone's working the context of creating a book for 3 months or so, I'm telling them to build their list all the time and let people know. So it's a marketing endeavor as well as a writing endeavor the entire time.
Yeah.
So we're going to your book will be on Times Square as a thank you from me. So whether you're there or not to witness it, I will be taking a picture of you in Times Square, and then we're going to the Library of Congress the day after.
Yeah. Those two I'm going to work at being that. Definitely the ones here in the Springs. I don't know I can make all of them, but
the Florida's not crucial. That's really just some of the. It's the same. It's the wing. I have lots of clients in Colorado. I have lots of wing in Florida, so I have to just fulfill my integrity in both of them, and then I'm good.
I used to live in Florida, so Tampa would be a great place to go back to, because that's where I would live in.
Well, we're going back next year. We're getting closer and closer to our Southwest friends, which I need to remember to even put that on. I'm going to say, get the extra love when I wear this. This is not a hat I'm supposed to have.
It's not?
No, someone at a conference gave it to me. He makes the hats for Southwest, and I said, man, that you have no idea how much I want this hat. So I have to do photo shoots for him. I have to, park his car, clean it every week, detail it.
All right, guys, we are coming back.
All right.
Channel.
This is Amplify. To reach the show today, please call 1-866-472-5795. That's 1-866-472-5795. We also would love to hear from you via email to info@umbrellasyndicate.com. Now, back to Amplify.
All right, we are back for the second segment, and with that cliffhanger, I will cut to it very, very soon. But again, a big thank you to the KeepSmilingMovement.com. If you are looking for hope, the dose of hope is there. And if you want to meet and read about lovely gentlemen like Dr. Garrett Goggins, Selena, and all these people that have actually shared their story of how they created who they are and the gift of their who becoming high enough that they found love in who they are and respect for who they are, that they gave themselves a gift of a purpose, a why. And with that why being as impactful as their who, they actually created a how they changed the world. So I am so excited to have Garrett on. This is my thank you to him for not only all he does, but to share with the world what a beautiful heart he has. So, cliffhanger coming up. Today is the last day for my son to sell popcorn for the Boy Scouts. And with that, for those of you who are so tired of me asking you to buy popcorn for my son, I will tell you that tomorrow is a new day for me. I will not be asking you to do that. My son has done, believe it or not, about 25, maybe even as high as 30 videos. Every time I say, hey, Kenny, if you're not hitting doors, you're making videos, because I got to send videos to people so that they're custom videos. So, and I love the way he does them, because I'll give him like a couple things and he'll say, I got it. And he'll just do it and he'll get it a little wrong. And it's just fun. But a couple things about the Boy Scouts, and I'd like you to share a couple things about the Boy Scouts. All right. And whatever you want. So over 500 million boys have gone through Boy Scouts from the inception of Boy Scouts. There are 2.2 million Boy Scouts right now active. And I have a little photo here of Kenny's progress in a second. First of all, he was at number 57 out of 100 in his troop. He was at 1,393 in his council, which is kind of the Maryland area. He was number 66,000 in the nation when he started this 10 days late, which was roughly 12 days ago, or maybe 14 days ago. But today, he is number 1 in his pack. He is number 4 in the council of Maryland, and he's number 221 in the United States of America. So I'm proud of what he's accomplished, and he has been told if he doesn't hit $136 more, he does not hit the big 12,000 point level. And people get upset with these popcorn sales in the Boy Scouts. Some of them, I shouldn't say people, I should say some people get upset because of how expensive the popcorn is. It's $27 for a bag of popcorn, and what they're missing is that they're actually funding a future leader. And yes, if it was no profit towards the Boy Scouts, or was no profit to the popcorn, something would fall. This is a mathematical equation that allows Trails End, that's the company, right? Trails End, to support and partner with the Boy Scouts. And yes, they make a living, and it's not outrageous. I think they give, it looks like about 80% is what I'm seeing on the math here. Like if you're paying $27 and $19 is going to the Boy Scouts, that's a pretty hefty amount. What people may not realize is that in that money, they still have to buy the prizes for these kids. And it's a lot of math. And, just getting a book done last week, which kind of was the straw that I was referring to earlier, the chapters came in 2 weeks later than they were supposed to. And I'd never been so far behind on a project, and I'd never had so many things to get this tour going to juggle. And it just broke me. And we got it to print. We got the print file to them Thursday. They printed it Friday. It gets here at 7 p.m. tonight for me to show at my talk tomorrow. I mean, this is dicey, at least. And I don't like operating that way. It's not how I operate. It's not how Perfect Publishing operates. So that's why I said this is a unique show. I'm coming clean. That was a tough week for me. That was one of the hardest weeks I've been. I mean, if you go to ER and you're sitting there for 11 hours and you're happy that you're alive and you just want to know what happened, you are in a state of something's going to change in your life. Something big's going to change in your life. So I have been on water and oatmeal, Dr. Garrett. And so it's been exciting just to get to a peanut butter and jelly sandwich yesterday. I had that for dinner.
You're like, yes. This is the best peanut butter and jelly I've ever had.
It's like the one you have after 3 or 4 hours in the pool on the beach. And and there's sand in it, and you're eating, and you go, this is the best sand I've ever eaten, too. So here's what I want to share. That $27 popcorn and that $250 donation to the heroes. And by the way, I've had people hit that button and ask for no popcorn. So there's people that get it, and there's people that maybe have some problems with it. And when you think about 30% of our cadets that are going through the West Point Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy, are Boy Scouts and Eagles. It says a lot about what this is. This is not brainwashing. This is teaching leaders to actually understand how it is to lead, have values, solve problems. And by the way, values, you cannot underline that enough. A leader that is a leader that doesn't have values is going to be corrupt. They're going to actually ruin an organization. And here's an example. The Boy Scouts. They had somebody that was a leader that looked the other way and allowed things to happen that weren't supposed to happen. But do you kill the organization because there was a bad leader, or do you find a new leader to get the thing right again? And that's why I'm with the Boy Scouts, is because they did it right. They actually got it right now. They have it right now. Because my son is having the best experience with one of the best packs, and the guys there are full time. It feels like. I know they got their real jobs, but I swear, with how much energy goes into Boy Scouts, I'm like, I don't know how you guys are doing the amount of hours to prepare for these events, but I could never do it. I just support. So, what would you like to say about the Boy Scouts?
Yeah, it was a big thing with my kids and I. So I was the leader. So I was their Cub Scout leader. I was
Really?
that. I was the man, and there a lot of time and a lot of effort that goes into
Big time.
making sure, like they used to call it, like how you're talking about the values. Like there was a joke that they used to call it babysitters of America, because there was the I'm just going to drop my kids off. But then there was a huge shift in what the BSA was doing. It's like, no, let's get these parents involved,
Mm-hmm.
and in this whole story, that you have this timeline of your child's life, and from this age to this age, they're babies, and so they want to be a part of your life, right? And then they go to school and they start getting time away from you, but they still want to be a part of your life. Then you get to be about teenage years, where you're the parent, you're no longer cool. And so we have to figure out how to get in between that time and say, how can I be a influential person in your life? And that's showing up. And so that was cool with Boy Scouts of America, was getting the parents back involved in their kids' life, going on these camping trips, watching them um, do these things, right? Learn these skills that they would have not otherwise known. And this is what I'll say: this huge testimonial that my son, and we're talking just 3 weeks ago, my son came to me and said, "You know what? Um, I know things today that my friends don't know because of Boy Scouts. Because of Boy Scouts,
Wow.
I've learned." And we're not talking like skill sets. We're talking about, like, not like starting fires and wood carving. We're talking about getting up in front of people and giving presentations.
Wow.
Like your son, what he's doing with this popcorn, that's a thing in Scouts, is get up and talk to people.
Mhm.
And let's get out of this comfort zone, which is, we can get into what the growth in as the adult is, right? We're so comfortable, and so there's no growth. But these kids are growing in ways that it's phenomenal because of what scouting is giving them. So I'm a huge proponent, and I actually went from the Cub Scout leader to going and being, they call it Cub Scout roundtables, right, where I was the leader of the roundtables, teaching these
Wow.
leaders how to lead these kids. And
So
huge.
you were the man of the man.
Yeah, I was in that middle. I was the man of the man, but there was like four other men above. No, but it was cool, and those were the greatest times, right? Those, and we can give kids things for Christmas and their birthdays, but what they remember, and what my kids always remember, are those experiences. We can talk about camping trips and what all that looked like, and they remember those experiences. So it was a really key point in their growth. So.
Well, 2 points I'll share out of that. First of all is that you work really hard and then you take your family on a vacation. And no matter how tough the year was or how many bumps there were in the year, when you ask your family what was the best part of the year, they'll all identify it was the vacation, it was the cruise, it was the camping, it was whatever. And those people that are materialistic, workaholic, they don't know that they're missing out on what the real value is of being a family member or a family leader, is to be there, because the gift is actually time.
Mhm.
And so when you hear about these very successful um, families that have just an abundance of money, and then the kids get into really bad things and make really bad choices, they've accelerated the fact that they can afford to get in these bad choices quicker because they didn't have the values. And this is just to be put out there, that that is the one thing I've gotten right in life, is I put my son first,
Mhm.
put my family first, because it's the first call I do of the day. It's the last call if I'm on the road. I ask my son, he's got to give me 2 videos a day so I can enjoy him. I give him 2 videos back a day, just so that he has something he can hear whenever he wants to for the day. And I write him a book a year. That was one of the best things I came up with for Purple Publishing, was my son gets a book a year. I write it for him. And if anyone else buys it, that's great. But if no one else buys it, that's fine too. And it's just my thing of, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a little older than you. I'm like 96. So So anyway, if I pass, I do have these books that my son can always reference, and they do. The main part they deal with is values.
Mm.
Main part is values, and I could do a show every single week where it's filled up with what my dad gave me in values. Even though he was a strict son of a gun, and I got in a lot of trouble with him, he was hell bent on making sure that that I left his house at any point, meaning I ran away too, Garrett. That I knew that my character was my only asset.
Right. Right.
You can throw away everything, you can lose everything else, but if you lose your character, you got nothing.
Yeah.
And as a
Well,
military officer, he did make sure that was clear.
that's interesting because that's what I always said about my mom is that I ran whatever, but I always I am the person I am because of her, not in spite of her. Right.
Hmm.
That was that thing. Her and my dad, and although they were divorced, uh, they're they were very influential in this. I was out there, and yes, I got into alcohol, but there's things I wouldn't do because they gave me morals and values and things that other kids were just going off and doing whatever. But I'm like, no, I can't do that because my mom would kick my butt. Even today, she would find me, and and that would be the end of that. So, but yeah, so
You with your
it's
mom? Your mom and dad are still alive?
my dad's passed. He passed a few years ago, but my mom is still alive. Yeah,
And so you talk to her still
yep,
tight?
yep,
Good.
every day.
That really?
Yeah,
That is awesome. I need to pick up that practice with my dad. My dad, ever since he lost my mom, really wasn't my dad or the grandparent anymore.
mm,
He went to another. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't good either. It just was different. Mom was the rock. Mom was the
mm,
backbone of the family. She was the
mm.
drill sergeant. She made everything come together. I kid around and tell people, but there was not a week that went by that if Mom said we're going to Taco Bell, even everyone rallied and said that's where we're going for our family. So we have a book to discuss, and to the audience, we have a huge tour we're doing where we're really launching Dr. Goggins' book, and it is going to start off, it looks like in Colorado Springs, then go to Denver, and that's around the end of November. We don't have tight dates, but it looks like 29th and 30th of November. We are launching The Seed, obviously at that time as well, and roughly 10 other authors, we'll call it. And then we're flying out to Rhode Island at the Rhode Island Author Expo, a couple hundred authors there. Then we head to Times Square, do a little author mixer, and then go to Times Square that evening to see the flip of your book, Dr. Goggins. And that is a gift I am giving you because I love you and I want your book to really get the light at the end of the day and the Christmas season. So when we share it, people can buy. And you've done some new work on it, so it's going to be really nice for those who've read it, to buy another copy.
Mm.
What do you think? I think it's a
Yeah, I
good
like
idea.
it. I think it's good. Good stuff. Good
And then,
stuff.
of course, they can get your dose of hope. But I want to talk a little more about that book, and then I want to talk about what you have in plans for next year. Okay, so after New York, then we go to D.C., and your book will be featured at the Library of Congress. And then we're going to to Florida for a couple little book gatherings in Tampa and/or Orlando. So let's tell the people about why you wrote the book, what the book's about, and what they'll get out of the book.
The book was it so but so
Title
we'll just
first.
we'll lead in because when that second divorce happened and lost the job, right, then I began to realize that I actually had to tell the story that I went to this training event where the speaker had said something to me or to the crowd, but I felt like she was talking to me, right? She said that whatever success you find in life or whatever success you don't find in life has nothing to do with external circumstances, other people, has everything to do with you. And when I started going through my second divorce, I was like, okay, and I lost my job. I was like, okay, why do I keep ending up here? And if what this person said to me is true, what about me needs to change? So there's something about me that keeps bringing me to this place. And so I had this mentor. I was like, I know that he read a lot of books, and I wasn't a big reader, even though I had the doctorate. I just didn't read self-development type books. I read other types of books, but I was like, give me some books because there's some changes in me that have to shift here. So he did, and I just went on this self-discovery. I don't call it self-development. I always call it self-discovery, and it's because if you do self-development right, you begin to realize or discover who it is that you want to become
Hmm.
and who it is you currently are, and what you need to shift to make that thing happen. So I was really in this, reading everything, taking master classes, taking courses from Bob Proctor, Les Brown. I was just really into the self discovery mode. And while I was in there, I have to process things in a way where I either had to talk to people or I have to write it down. I had to do something to kind of wrap my head around what's going on. So I was talking to people and they were like, I have no idea what you're talking about. You sound weird, right? Because it's a different language at that point.
Exactly.
And even my friend, my best friend, who's still my best friend, he was like, if you start talking about your aura, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna slap you, right? So because they just didn't understand everything that was going
Yeah,
on.
but you were speaking a language called enlightenment.
Yeah,
And if they're
exactly.
not an enlightened language, it really does sound like a foreign language.
It does. Well, and that's so true. But I couldn't find the people that, I just didn't have that tribe yet. And they were starting to come about, right? The resources and the things and those people, like this one mentor I had that I met, my second mentor, and she was really taking me to the next level. And she was like, just sit with yourself for a little bit
I'll
and
give her
say
a shout
what.
out.
Yeah, Dolly Cena. She was pivotal for me. And how I met her was insane. Like, let me tell you that story real quick and we'll get back to the book, because it actually spawns the book. So I read the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, and it sounds like all I'm about is money, but when you get into this, the richness is the richness of life. And even though Wallace Wattles was talking about we need money, it's a tool that we have to do this with. Um, uh, that it was resonating with me, right? It was getting my mind in the right spot, and like, I want to know more about this. And the next day, I got this message from LinkedIn, which was not a huge platform of mine. I've never had a message from LinkedIn. I've never had one since, but it was Dolly asking me to be a part of a mastermind group of Science of Getting Rich. So it just spawned from there. We connected and we just went from there. But she'd always sit there and tell me, sit with it and ask yourself, what can I do today to get to where I want to be tomorrow? And I was like, well,
Mhm.
I need to wrap my head around this. So what can I do? And this inspiration just said, write a book about it. I was like, oh, okay. So I wrote this book called Moving Upstream Without a Paddle that was geared to this idea, right? I just talked about how people look at things differently, and or in a way that self-development is such a chore. And it's because their mindset is not in the right place, because they go, it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And so they feel like they're moving upstream without a paddle. And like, if you look at this differently, you can literally move up the stream without a paddle. That's a different perspective, because our mindset is right now and it's propelling us forward. Like, when you start to develop the right mindset, you have a motorboat on the back of this motor on the back of your boat. And so, but I wanted to give these 3 foundational principles. Is one is change the way we think, right? Change the way we think. And then a lot of other things are going to happen. We talk about gratitude in there. We talk about what action looks like. And so these 3 principles, thought process, actions, and gratitude, are huge. And so I cover that in the book of what that looks like and how you can implement this in your life and to really propel yourself forward in any endeavor that you set out to be. So
Let's
that's
talk
that's
about thought process.
I'll talk about the thought process. So um, the process is this, right? We have conscious thoughts, and those, we're going to get a little scientific here, that we have conscious thoughts. Those conscious thoughts get impressed into the subconscious mind. The subconscious, my dog is trying to break through that, and there he goes.
Good job. That's thought process right there. Your
That's
dog
thought
caught
process.
it.
So we have so the conscious thoughts go into subconscious generates on a high level, right? There's so much that goes on in the subconscious, but at a high level, the subconscious then generates these feelings and emotions that generate actions, and then actions give us results. So that's the process. So if our conscious thoughts are on our current results that are we're not happy with, it's a negative. We're in this negative state. So we have negative conscious thoughts impressed into the subconscious. Subconscious gives us negative emotions. We have anxiety, we have depression, we have those negative emotions. And so what actions spawn from that? Right. Well, depression, we sit on the couch, we eat bonbons, we do all kinds of craziness that gives us the exact same results that we had. So we hit this cycle of this negativity, right? And so how do we break out of that? Well, we define what what do we want? We have to shift our focus, that conscious thought, to something that's going to be more inspirational. This dose of hope, these pieces. When we put our conscious thought there, that's a whole different ball game, because when that goes into our subconscious, we get excitement, we get anticipation, we have this high energy. And what actions then are that? The actions are productive actions that moves us forward, and we have different results. So now we have a different conscious thought. So we just hit a new cycle. And so it's working within that thought process to really get out of this negative, this place where we feel stuck, into something that we are progressing forward. And that's how we utilize this thought process to, when Bob Proctor, I love how he always says, if you can see it here, you can hold it here. Well, that's what we do. Our focus
That's
is
what
on the
his
here.
book was
Yeah.
called Thoughts Are Things.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like when we see it here, you can hold it here, because that's
Exactly.
what we're going after. We change the thoughts, and
That's
that's
beautiful.
so
Well,
powerful.
in the essence of time, we want to make sure people, first of all, know how to get the book from you, how to even follow you. So go ahead and share that first.
Well, the book is on Amazon.
Very nice
and
pronunciation, by the way. We're on Amazon.
It's on what?
Very nice pronunciation. You went Amazon.
Amazon. Yes, it is there. It's on Amazon, and really, that's just the place to go.
Okay, so perfectpublishing.com. You can click on Garrett's bio, read about him. You can click on the book that he has there. It'll take you right to Amazon. You can buy it. And then how do people follow you personally?
On all, well, not all the socials. So I'm pretty active on
I love you on
socials.
TikTok. TikTok is the one where I'm seeing you like this. I love that.
Well, I don't do TikTok, so I do Instagram.
Instagram?
It's the gram. So
The big IG.
you'll see reels on the gram. I have a friend that calls it the gram. It's just stuck. The gram, Instagram, and Facebook are my big things. YouTube is about to be a big one too, because there's going to be Mindset Talk with Dr. G is going to be on there. So that's,
And you have a show, right?
the Moving Upstream Without a Paddle show is shifting to the Mindset Talk with Dr. G. But yeah,
I want to be on that show.
oh, you will be. Don't kid yourself.
All right. So, Garrett, I have some questions for you that are aligned to the Dose of Hope experience you had at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are 2 or 3 books that changed your life?
There are 3 books that I, even to my clients. So when someone comes to me for mindset coaching, that's part of it. Like, this is what I give you: What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Dr. Shad Helmstetter, Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, and then U Squared by Price Pritchett. 3 books that will just change your life.
And are you a proponent of Malcolm Gladwell?
I'm not sure that I know Malcolm Gladwell.
I will share his books linked to you, because I will say that you may have a 4th.
Okay.
You might.
I like that.
He's a human behaviorist at the highest level researcher. Okay. What movie inspires you?
What's what now?
Movie. What movie inspires you?
Oh man, my favorite movie of all time is Remember the Titans. That's just
Awesome. That's it. We're getting low in time. So I just want to say that Rudy is number 2 of all time on the Google search, and he is in Dose of Hope as of next month.
Rudy is.
Yeah, Rudy, the movie Rudy. What's a quote you live by?
Vishen Lakiani, remember, look at all the trailblazers that have gone before you and understand that you're no different.
Beautiful. And who's someone you'd always like to meet?
That I always like to meet. There's so many. That's a long list, man.
Give me a couple then, quick.
Well, Vishen is one. Vishen Lakiani has a really
Let's
good
just
thing.
leave. Hey, we'll make the list available on the Zoom link. All right.
Got it.
So this is Ken Rochon on Voice America. Dr. Garrett Goggins. I love you. You are Dr. Love. You're Dr. G Love, man. So
new nickname right there.
yeah, I'll tell you, you are the gram of the G. All right. So I really love you, brother, and I look forward to seeing you in a month for the beginning of the Trailblazer book tour that finishes the year, culminates the year, but really propels us into a better year next year, which will possibly include Cuba, Africa, the Taj Mahal, and the Philippines. Is that crazy or what?
That is crazy.
I mean, you just add Antarctica to it, and you've got the full boat. So,
awesome.
So this is Ken Rochon on an Amplified Influencer channel. We're so glad that you were able to tune in with us, Dr. Garrett Goggins. Please follow him, buy his book. It will change your life. And we'll see you next week. Stay amplified. If you know someone like Garrett Goggins, don't hesitate to nominate him for Dose of Hope.
All right, great job today, guys. All clear.
Thank you. All right, Garrett, we'll talk later. I'm heading to my event, and thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
And so when we get your books, we're gonna get some books for you for the tour, and you let me know what you need from me, okay?
Okay, absolutely.
I do want to have a little talksy with you into this week.
Okay.
Let me turn off the recording real quick.